Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
It's me, a Derek.
And this is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and busting makes us feel good. How are you guys doing on our Halloween hangover episode?
Doing good.
I've never felt better. Now that I'm Mario.
Here's my favorite sound. You ready? Love it.
Awesome.
This was the best $200 I ever spent.
I mean, at least it wasn't on a pen.
No, exactly.
Just saying.
Exactly.
Just
At least it wasn't on an ink pen that just writes.
Lydia.
So, guys,
You're ridiculous.
we got a lot going on here. You have some bony hands. We've got a great episode for you today. We went back to the 90s. Back to the 90s again for a trip with the Kenneth Branagh-directed Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But before we get into all that jazz, I thought we would open the show and talk about the horror news. I mean, this is a break from tradition, but this is what I'm going to do. What do you think?
I don't think we've ever done it before.
There's a first time for everything, guys. First time for everything. There's not a lot. There's actually only 4 things that I wanted to speak of. 5, really, I think. But this weekend, when this episode is being recorded, Five Nights at Freddy's just premiered. And it did day and date with Peacock. And guys, this movie made $130 million worldwide in its opening weekend.
Dude.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
The video games have a cult-like following, so I'm not shocked.
Yeah. Me and Jim really wanted to watch it, but we didn't get a chance yet. But I'm excited to see it, honestly.
Opened to 78 here in the States. So horror is basically our box office champions at this point in the year. I mean, besides Barbie and Oppenheimer, which are on another level. But, yeah, that's huge. That's great. That's the biggest opening in Blumhouse history.
That's insane. It does look really cool. It looks fun.
It looks fun. Yeah, it looks fun. I think it'd be a good starter horror for some kids.
Definitely. I know a ton of kids who love it.
Derek, I have some news for you here in a minute. Well, Joe Lynch's Suitable Flesh is now available to rent on VOD this weekend.
Nice.
So
yeah, I want to watch that too.
We have to hit up Suitable Flesh. It looks amazing. Haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but by the time this airs, dear viewer, I'll have seen it. Tell you that.
Crazy idea. But depending on the viewing service, and actually if it's available for this specific function, we should try to do a viewing party.
Ooh,
we can see what we can do. We can work something out.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. We should check that out. This is interesting. Black Phone 2 is coming to theaters in 2025, Lydia.
Oh, nice.
They greenlight that early.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I don't know what it's about. I don't know how they're going to move forward. The story ended, so maybe it's a prequel.
Could be.
So we don't know any information on it, just that Black Phone 2 is hitting theaters in summer of 2025. I liked the first one a lot.
I had not.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it. We've talked about it on the podcast, but I had not seen any of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to. I'd be interested to see it. Guys, this is nuts. This news is nuts. But Barbarian is getting a video game adaptation from New Regency Pictures in Diversion 3.
Oh. Did we cover that one on here?
We covered Barbarian on the podcast, yes.
Okay. I couldn't remember if we did or if we just watched it.
Huh?
Yeah,
Justin Long.
That was the one, yeah.
Ooh, what was that?
that was just the shape. It's not a big deal.
Oh.
He just wanted to say hi, I guess.
I guess so. That was kind of spooky.
It was. Whatever. Yeah, we don't have a release date or what kind of game it is, but we're getting a barbarian game, and that's kind of a weird property to get a video game, really. So that's interesting.
You know, I think so as well. But like it being set like in tunnels and things like that, like I feel I can see the adaptation.
You could do a survival horror game,
weird.
probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like even escape room.
You might even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Expand it to like that area of Detroit.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And then, guys, the final bit of horror news I have for you is going to blow your minds. Here it is. It's the Halloween 3 Tom Atkins figure from NECA.
No way.
Look, he comes with a little Miller Lite.
That's why God created fathers, babe. That's why God created fathers.
How amazing is that? Look at he's wearing his little members only jacket.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Ah, yes.
That's amazing.
Incredible. Yeah, it is $75 pre-order at the moment. So it is pricey. But good God, doesn't it look beautiful?
It looks really good.
Stunning.
Yeah. I thought I was thinking about maybe adding that one to the collection because I'm gonna have it. I've gotta have it in my life.
Yeah.
And it'll be sitting right there. And that wraps up the horror news today, guys. Not a lot, like I said.
So this kind of shocked me. We had talked about it, but I didn't know it came out. So they have done the prequel. It's out for viewing for Pet Sematary.
Oh, yes, it is out. Yeah.
Where Judd Crandall is,
Yeah, Bloodlines, I think is what it's called.
Bloodlines is what it's called, yeah. I was like surfing through trying to find a way to watch tonight's movie, and I came across that, and I'm like...
Yeah, it's on Paramount.
Talk about it.
Plus.
Yeah. We almost watched that too, but we didn't have time.
Yeah.
I see.
You look like Vincent Price meets Mario.
I was instructed by my wife
not
to use the Mario stash because we need it for Halloween.
Oh, okay.
So
that's a good mustache.
Going with this one.
It looks you're like Uncle Rico Mario.
You know, I kind of look like Vince McMahon from one of his recent
You do look like Vince McMahon. Hey, pal. Put it there, buddy. That's hilarious. All right, guys, let's get into tonight's movie. Let's start with you, Lydia. You've never seen this before, right? Is this your first time?
This is my first time.
Have you ever even heard of it?
Yes, actually, I watched a video of the fire stunt that was in this movie, so I did see that.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that fire stunt.
Yes.
For sure. Okay, cool. And Derek, this is not your first time watching this.
You know, it might as well be. This movie came out in, 94, I think?
1994, yeah.
Yeah, I know I've watched the movie, but man, it's been forever ago. So this was like watching it for the first time.
Yeah, I've seen this movie several times. I think I watched it, if not last year, several years ago. It was several years ago. During the pandemic, I watched it.
Oh.
Nice.
When we were quarantined, because I was going through all the movies that, we were stuck inside for like a month. So I was going through every movie that I could on demand and stuff. And I thought about that and I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in a minute. Let me check it out. So I watched it then. The first time I watched this was around the time it came out, like in the mid to late 90s is probably when I watched it for the first time. But it wasn't like I didn't see like Dracula I saw when it came out, like when it came out on video, I definitely saw Dracula. This one I saw a couple years later, I feel like, but I do definitely remember the TV spots for this guy. I remember seeing the trailers for it, and I remember wanting to see it and being fascinated. I'm like, Robert De Niro? Robert De Niro?
Right.
That's all I could think of. What? And there's a couple of scenes from the trailer that I remember, like the flashing lightning in it's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I also remember watching it on Dinner and a Movie, or not Dinner and a Movie, on Monster Vision, when Monster Vision aired it on TNT. I remember watching it there too. So yeah, I've had a journey with this movie. I rented it when it came out, or when it was on DVD, and I don't own it yet, but I probably will end up buying it. They have a cool 4K
Nice.
Arrow video put out, so I might be picking that one up. But yeah, let's dive into this guy. Where do you want to start? Let me guess. The beginning. Is that where you want to start?
I mean, it is very important.
Well, it
'cause
is
our two-
important. Little backstory. So this movie, before we start, this movie was produced by Francis Ford Coppola. So was basically like after the success of Dracula, American Zoetrope was like, we'll do a series of these guys, and we'll do Frankenstein, and Kenneth Branagh is going to direct it, and then we could do Wolfman or whatever the hell else we want to do. So this is kind of the sister movie, the sibling movie to Frankenstein, or to Dracula. So that's why we got like pretty much 92 and 94 these Bram Stoker's Dracula and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, because they were both American Zoetrope movies. So
fascinating.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. So the opening is actually it is important, and it's also really cool because it gives the movie this giant scope. I feel like makes the movie big, and we get some. We're kind of thrown, literally in media res. We don't know what's going on. We have these explorers pushing through to the North Pole trying to discover it, and we have Aidan Quinn as this boat captain, and he's like he's got the madness. He's got the madness, the manic need. So he's pushing his men. He doesn't care who lives or dies. He wants to be remembered for something. And then they stumble upon Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein. Dr. Victor Frankenstein. And he is, frostbitten, cold, and he's warning them to turn back because there's something, the monster's out there, and he thinks he's speaking of some crazy phantom, and the dogs are loosed and killed by this phantom. And so he brings him inside to warm up, and he starts telling him the story of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Essentially.
Mary Shelley, he tells him Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. What do you guys think of this opening?
It's kind of crazy when they're like smashing into the icebergs and stuff.
Yeah, it's big too. It has like good production value. It looks like money was spent. Yeah.
I also thought it was cool because I pretty recently had a chance to like listen to the book. And actually, like, because I've always watched the Boris Karloff Frankenstein, so the story was actually super interesting. I really loved the book a lot, and then seeing this version of the movie for the first time, I was like, okay,
it's quite faithful to the story beats, for sure. I think it's the most faithful adaptation of Frankenstein, this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that I like the opening a lot because, like I said, it adds scope to the movie, and it's a good hook. It hooks you in pretty much immediately because you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it also allows for a slight redemption at the end for
Yes.
the great doctor that you know his wrongs helped save these men essentially.
Yeah, the real
And
arc is with the captain. The captain
yeah,
has an arc from
yep,
he learns from Frankenstein's madness. Yeah, and well, I mean that's a
yeah,
big part of the movie is hubris. I mean that's what Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the novel, is about. It's about hubris. It's about it's Icarus flying too close to the sun, and that's what the movie is about as well. Is about this
yeah.
hubris and this manic drive without
Well, and
with no without thinking about consequences and putting everybody else at danger because of your own selfishness.
Hmm.
for sure, and you know we. So one of the things that kind of resonates even now is, and I don't want to get sidetracked on this because it's not part of the movie, but like where we are in our evolution of science and what we are embarking on with like gene editing and things like that, like it should give you pause to think about what could happen if you do succeed at this thing. And I mean, to be fair, the thing that he's trying to do, which he's influenced by his mom's death,
Yeah, and we'll
is
get to that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it could change the path of humanity.
yeah, for
But
the
some
better,
things shouldn't.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah. So let's
a lot of
talk
cool stuff in
about
this movie.
what'd you say?
I said a lot of cool stuff in this movie.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Kenneth Branagh, who is not only playing Victor Frankenstein, but also is the director of this film. What do you guys think of
Yeah,
him as? What do you think of his performance as Victor Frankenstein?
I think he
he's
does pretty
awesome.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There were a few scenes where I was like, I felt like in the book he was a little bit more like animated and like crazy at times, but other than that, I thought it was pretty amazing.
yeah, I think he's great in this. Some people think it's a little over the top. I don't think it. I think it's pitch perfect.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
it's over the top enough.
yeah, no,
I didn't
I
think
like it.
Yeah, I was with you. There's very few things I didn't like about this movie, but he was not one. He did great. I think all the actors did
Yeah, I think the
really,
acting's strong
really
across the board.
a great job. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
well cast for sure.
So speaking of cast, so we and when we get back when we go to his backstory, and he has when he's a child, the family adopts uh Elizabeth into the family.
Yeah, you know, if you went to pee or you went to get popcorn and you came back and you missed that part, the whole movie is weird.
or
You
or
really got to be in
if
the
you're
know
in,
on that one.
yeah, or if you're in the deep south, normal.
Yeah. Oh man, I know what he's talking about. My uncle, my aunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they adopt Elizabeth, and they grow up together, but they're clearly in
Yeah.
love. They end up falling in love. Elizabeth is played by you mentioned her last week, Derek.
Yeah, I was shocked she wasn't in the last movie.
I know.
She is beautiful in this movie.
Mhm.
And I have a thing for curly-haired brunettes, but she is really great in this movie. I've only ever seen her in like crazy ass roles that she does for Tim Burton, and I think she was in Fight Club too.
She is in Fight Club, yeah.
But yeah, this was
Yeah.
a different take. I hadn't. I guess I've seen her in
Helena
a couple
Bonham
other
Carter's who we're talking about, by the way. We didn't mention her name.
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah, so Victor's mom dies while giving birth to his youngest brother, William. And this is
Yeah.
basically the catalyst for the whole movie. William's
Yeah.
death, or I mean, her death, his mom's death, because in that moment he makes himself a fucking Batman vow. He goes to her grave and he says, "I'm going to figure out a way to keep people from dying. Essentially, this is my promise to you." And from that point on, he's obsessed with, because he was already on his path to become a doctor because his father's a doctor.
Yeah.
But from that point on, he's obsessed with stopping death and mastering death. what do you guys think of that motivation?
Go ahead, Lydia. If you
It's relatable.
Yeah.
When you lose someone, that's pretty much your first thought is like you're just wanting them back, and it's just such a human emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. What were you going to say, Derek?
so that too, but also like, man, the mortality rate for women giving birth during this time for both the mother and the baby, it was just astronomical.
Well, he was birthing her in the best, finest birthing chair.
Oh, yeah,
That handles on the side. You're like, oh my god.
I mean, at least he wasn't going like to the morgue to work on dead bodies and then going and delivering babies.
Yeah,
which is an actual like the person. I remember a story that I heard in college. This is a bit of a side tangent, but so there was a doctor who was going from the morgue, doing autopsies, like things like that, and then going and delivering babies, and he started washing his hands. That's what he started doing, and he noticed that the infant mortality rate dropped significantly just from like that one action. Anyway, kind of a crazy time.
That's wild. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this sets off everything. So he is already kind of starting to he's starting to figure this out. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to stop? I want to reanimate life. And he ends up going to he's from Geneva. This is very important. He ends up going to university. And when he gets to university, he meets Henry, his best friend. What do you guys think of Henry, by the way?
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I like Henry.
I like him.
You like Henry?
Yeah,
he's the
good
one
best
who
friend
who faints during the anatomy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fun.
He
he's good comic relief. Yeah.
He is. And, it doesn't seem like maybe he's destined to be a doctor at first, but
no,
perseverance pays off. And he's a great companion to Victor.
Yeah.
Because he's a balance. Because later on...
he's a conscience. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. And, one of the things that really, fortunate or unfortunately, at this university is one of the professors had already kind of embarked on this journey before and got really close.
Yes.
So,
Professor Waldman.
Close.
Waldman, yep.
And you know who plays Professor Waldman? The great John Cleese.
Yep.
What?
That was John Cleese, yeah.
I did not even recognize him at all.
It's the fake teeth. Is why. He has like kind of buck teeth. So it kind of changes the shape of his face a little bit. I remember when I watched this during the pandemic, yeah, that's what I did. I was like, man, he kind of looks familiar. And then the next scene he was in, it like did a close up on him, and I was like, is that fucking John Cleese? So I had to search it, and I was like, that's John Cleese. Yeah.
That's insane. That just blew my mind. I thought the same thing when I was watching it. I was like, oh, I'm sure I've seen that guy in something before.
Yeah. Monty Python. That's what you see.
Holy shit. That's
a
crazy.
Fish Called Wanda.
What a good freaking actor. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's really good in this, too. The character of Waldman's great.
Holy cow, you're 100% right.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm definitely going to go back and look at that. Whoa.
He's great in it too. Waldman, as Waldman, he's great. Waldman's a great character because he has this sadness about him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's kind of been, beat down by the community for his views on things, and him trying to combine, philosophy with medicine. And there's a whole speech about that. And Frankenstein's like, well, there has to be a place for philosophy in medicine. and he's real passionate. He gets into like this passionate argument. It's one of my favorite bits when he's like, even in your own staff, and he points at Waldman, and he's like, oh, and like just runs out. Like he just runs out. He's like, throw me under the bus, you son of a bitch. So he takes them to his laboratory and shows him experiment with the fucking monkey hand. What do you guys think of that?
That was freaky.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, you've seen like experiments like this in other movies and things like that, but I mean, it's built on truth. It's electrical current causes the muscles to retract.
Tense.
I do love that he overcharges it and it clamps onto old boy's arm like it's gonna break, and Victor immediately was like, "You need to reverse the polarity."
Yeah, he knows what to do. Yeah, so then he becomes his protege, except he won't let him look at his notes because he's talking about, I want to create new life, and he's like, no, we only use this to preserve life that exists. We're only doing this to prevent people from dying. And Victor's like, well, what if we create new life? And he's like, no, I was already there. You know, it's bad news, basically. So then they're giving vaccines for, which is very relevant to some people. But
right,
history repeats, man.
Yep, history definitely repeats. And so he's they're given vaccines because there's an outbreak of polio, I think. Is that what? Well, no, what was it?
I think you're right.
It was an
yeah. So
like there's a cholera. Yeah, polio vaccine wasn't created till the 20th century. Yeah, so there's a cholera outbreak, and he's trying to vaccinate. You know, so he's getting vaccines. They're doing vaccine program, and they bring in Robert De Niro as like this freaking just crazy ass weirdo, essentially, who doesn't want to get the vaccine so much that he stabs Waldman, killing him, and then he gets hanged. So
I mean, he's an ignorant anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, I mean, you reap what you sow.
It was wild. It was wild.
Yeah.
It is wild. That's a wild scene. Yeah,
Relatable.
and the fact that he's so he's hanged, and then Victor uses him as part of the as part of the body that he's bringing back to life. So let's talk about the creation scene. What do you guys think of this creation scene?
I don't even know where to start. It's wild. It's really cool.
It's really cool. I like the way it's shot, especially.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
That was actually, so one of the things, there's a lot of like, I mean, it's going real fast.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I was like, man, I wish they would slow down a little bit on some of this stuff, because he just flies through it. Like the look of it looks amazing. And I actually really think it's kind of cool, although I don't know if the amount of current you would need to do something like this could be produced by an eel.
Yeah. But maybe
very creative.
50 eels, maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's really
I know
cool.
that
Yeah.
I was this close to breaking out a spreadsheet and looking some shit up last night. I was like,
yeah, it's a really cool idea.
And,
like, so the eels, I mean, there's also the embryonic fluid that he gets from people that are giving birth. So he collects the embryonic fluid.
No bueno, man. If that's what it takes, I'm not playing God. What about that? Because at one part, he and the monster are like rolling around in this shit, and you're just like,
dude,
no
we'll get to
way.
that. Yeah, we'll get to that. So yeah, so you guys like the actual creation method? Like he's in that like chamber.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees him like he's looking in
that.
He's looking in the in the little window, and he sees his eye open. And then he thinks he's dead because when he opens, when he looks in there and pulls it out, he's not moving. So he walks away, and he hears him start banging on the side, and we get that really cool push-in shot on him, And he's like, it's alive. And I love that push in. It's really cool, good push in. But yeah, then they're rolling around in this fluid, Derek. And Sarah was watching this with me, and she was like, "This is a really disgusting scene." I was like, "That gross you out, babe?" She's like, "Yeah, I don't like that."
100. That's
so.
disgusting.
He ends up trying to help him stand up. He gets hooked onto the ropes, and the thing bashes him in the head and hangs him up. And so he thinks he's dead. And he's having this terrible, like, guilt, like this buyer's remorse. Kind of like, when you go out and you like, you buy like a brand new, you buy this brand new expensive thing. And you're like, yeah, I really want this this new TV. And then you get home, you put it up, and then you're like, I really shouldn't have bought that TV.
I thought you were going to say when you go out and you buy this brand new $200 Proton pack.
No. Let's say you go and you buy a $200 pen. Then it's sitting on your desk, and you're like, I really shouldn't have bought this pen. It'd be something like that.
No, I get that all the time.
Yeah,
I get buyer's remorse quite a lot. Like every time I buy something, I'm like, oh man.
You're muted, Derek.
Every time. Derek,
you're muted. You're still muted.
You shouldn't have said I knew I was muted. You ruined it. And then I'm like sitting here like trying to hit because it's a little tiny microphone button anyway.
But yeah, so he immediately like regrets his decision of creating this thing, and then he wants to wash his hands of it anyway. So he goes and like basically passes out on his bed, and when he awakens
of exhaustion,
yeah, the creature is there, and the creature starts chasing him around. Basically, he's just trying to figure out what's going on. The creature is, and he's just trying to get his bearings, and he basically chases him out of the thing. He goes to grab an axe, and the creature is escaped. And so, this is a good time to talk about Robert De Niro as the monster. What do you guys think of his performance as the creature?
I think he did great.
Dude,
Awesome.
I really love his performances. There's moments where I feel so bad for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel bad for him the entire movie.
yeah, but like there's certain ones where like the way he emotes certain things and delivers certain lines, I'm like, my God, Robert De Niro is fucking awesome. But
it's killing me. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, so he escapes, and the creature does. He gets in his clothes, gets on his outfit
jacket,
that he wears for the rest of the movie, and he's like immediately just attacked by townspeople because he looks different, because he's ugly. And this is this guy, this is this being's like first moments on Earth, and he's just getting pelted with things and hit, and he doesn't know that he's super strong until he starts throwing people around, like, oh, I've got this strength. So he starts throwing people around. He escapes, and he hides in this, ends up hiding in this pig pen. And guys, what do you think about this little section with the monster in the family? God.
This is like one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of emotion in this because he saves them
multiple times
from almost certain death.
Yeah.
Starvation.
Starvation.
That's the reason why they survived the winter. And then they're like, oh, we're offering this up to the being of the...
Yeah, the good fairy of the woods.
The spirit. Spirit
Yeah.
of the woods or something.
Yeah. And the whole time,
so he's
the
in
grandfather knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knows from
So
the
he's
get-go.
he's hiding in the pig's pen, and he's listening in and watching this family, like he's bonding over them, like he loves them. They're his only friends, and they don't know he exists. So they give him like a present, they put a present out there for him, and he's like so happy about it. it's like, oh, this is my
That
flower,
was
this
so
is mine.
sweet.
Yeah, and when he he's just smiling when he's listening to him, how happy they are. And then when this guy, the landlord, comes and attacks the grandpa, he defends the
Mhm.
grandpa. And the little girl had run off, so she doesn't even know that the monster's there. Didn't know the creature's there. She runs off, and then he speaks with the grandfather, who's blind, who's the blind man.
Mhm.
And they have like this really great dialogue. This is where it is when the guy, after he feels his face and says, "You poor man, what happened to you?" whatever, and then he said, "Don't you have any friends?" and he said, "Yeah, I have people that I care for." And he said, "Well, why don't you won't you go to them?" And he said, "Because I am ugly and they are so beautiful." And the way he delivers that line, it's just like, it's brilliant. Yeah. And then he's immediately chased out because they don't know who he is, and he looks the way he looks, and it just breaks his heart. He's just crying.
Well, and yeah, I see that's hard. I get it 100%, but like, how does the father, the patriarch, not take a moment and listen to the grandfather who's trying to like say, "Hey, this is the person who has been
Yeah.
with us this whole time,"
And he saved my
'Cause
life.
they just up
Yeah.
and leave.
They leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just up and leave, and they will come back.
And so when
Every moment of
Yeah.
this being's life, he is being just abandoned from his father
Yep.
to these people that he cares about. It's just, he can't catch a break. Why does he
Yeah.
become a monster? It's a mystery.
Society makes him a monster. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of this, Lydia?
Yeah, I love it. It's definitely, I mean, like I said, it's like my favorite part of the whole story. It's just, it's beautiful and tragic and heartbreaking.
Do you guys
Yeah, it
ever
has
think
great
Smith is
performances.
right?
Who?
Smith, Agent Smith. You guys ever think he
Oh.
was right?
But yeah, it's so he goes back and the place is abandoned. So he finds the diary because Elizabeth has come and she and Victor have decided to become engaged. And they're like, they asked if Henry wants to join them in their practice. They're all going to move back to Geneva together, and they're going to start their own practice, and everything's going to be hunky dory. And then he mentions, Henry mentions the diary. You can write that in your diary. And Victor realizes that he doesn't have his diary, and the creature does. So the creature learned to read by watching the lessons, and trace memories of his old whoever he used to be. And so
his brain came from the doctor who died.
Yes. And
Right,
it's
so
like
the body is the
the criminal. Parts of the body are the criminal, but not all of them. So he's having these trace memories and stuff. So he's able to read. So he reads the diary, and he realizes that he was created, that he is not born, that he was created. And he realizes he knows where Frankenstein lives. He knows all of this. So he burns the house down after the family leaves, and he screams, "Revenge will be mine!"
I will have revenge. Frankenstein!
What do you guys think of that bit?
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Very
could be
powerful.
hammy, but it's fucking rules, right? It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's that moment in everybody's life where, like, they can't take it anymore, and he seeks revenge.
Yeah, and just like looking at his face too, like with the makeup looks so cool, and the like weird contact in the one eye.
Let's talk about the makeup.
What do you guys? Unhinged.
What do you think of the makeup, Lydia?
I think it looks great. I think it's really freaky.
Yeah, I think it's a cool design. Derek, you with
I
that?
I love how it morphs over time. Because the first couple of times we see him, the wounds are fresh,
Yeah, the stitches are
right?
still
And then
there. Yeah.
slowly over time,
Mhm.
it everything binds back together, it welds together, and then
Yeah.
they're
It's
just
just scarring.
scars. And
Yeah.
yeah, dude, his eye looks amazing.
Yeah. And the way I like the way his
Yeah.
mouth is, how it's
Mhm.
permanently
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
it's a-
iconic, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great
Um,
look.
My only
And that
complaint
costuming is
that
great.
yeah, I do like the costume. I mean that's an awesome costume. My only complaint is that in the book he has like long black hair, and
Yeah. They shaved
I
it. They give him yeah.
I think that's fine. I think that's a fine choice, but like part of me just like wanted to see that, you know.
Yeah, I just think it would been. I think maybe they probably thought about it at one point, but then they're like, Robert De Niro looks really weird with this long flowing black hair.
That could be. That could be.
And they're like,
Definitely, but yeah, I
plus
just wonder because
you want to see that cool scar too that they have.
the scar, yeah.
You want that to be visible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's
I get
a
it.
great, it's an iconic look. I think he looks amazing. The costume cuts a great silhouette in great shadow because of how high the collar is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
cool.
that silhouette was so cool.
And so
That coat.
yeah, the
that
coat is
big-ass
awesome. Yeah,
coat.
yeah. So basically, the creature wants revenge. He wants revenge for being created, essentially being abandoned, being created, and just this awful existence he's living. So he tracks Frankenstein, Victor, he tracks him to Geneva, and they arrive with a locket, that Victor got and gave to Elizabeth in lieu of a wedding ring at the moment, and they give it to young William, Victor's youngest brother, and he goes off into the woods, and he stumbles upon the creature who's there already, playing the flute.
Mm.
And then so a search goes on for finding him, and Justine, who is the housemaiden and has basically been there since the beginning, she was raised in the Frankenstein household.
Mhm.
She is she's looking for him as well, and she ends up basically falling asleep in a barn
From exhaustion.
from exhaustion
Yeah.
and everything. So she passes out in the barn. So the monster who has killed William places the locket on her, which frames her for the murder, essentially.
Yeah.
So she's found and then taken into custody, and a lich mob forms, and there's no trial. There's
Quickly.
nothing. The lynch mob forms, and they immediately just hang her, kill her, dead. And Victor is broken and distraught, and as he's heading back home from the death of his brother and the death of Justine, he's confronted by the creature, who says, "Meet me over there," And so, what do you guys think of this whole bit before we get into their first confrontation? What do you think of all of this stuff?
It's crazy. I know Jake was really affected by this whole scene. First of all, he was confused because it doesn't show
death.
the monster
Yeah.
like kill the boy. So Jake was
Mhm.
like assumed that he just died of the elements out there.
Yeah.
And I think, because it didn't show it, and because you feel so bad for the monster, that
Yeah.
he was just like, I had to tell him, I was like, no, he killed him.
Yeah. And Sarah
And,
asked me the same thing, and she was like, "Well, did he kill him?" And I was like, "Yeah. Keep watching, you'll see, and he's gonna tell us about it
Yeah.
here shortly."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like the framing him and the hanging, he was like, can you believe people used to just do that?
Yeah, it's messed up.
So
Yeah,
it is. It's super messed up.
it's the worst
It's
of us.
really
Yeah,
scary.
it's the worst of
Mm-hmm.
us. Yeah, I think it's very. I think it's very cool. I like how it shows the monster, well, the creature, like, uh, how bitter he's become, and
Mm-hmm.
not only how bitter he's become, but how like petty. You know what I mean? And how manipulative he is. He's like, if I put this here, they'll think that she killed. You know, she did it,
Yep.
and all of it. And then for him to confront Frankenstein and saying, hey, instead of like threatening him outright, he's like, you are going to meet me here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, yeah, I am. Because of course I am. And so he goes there to kill him. He brings a pistol. And he goes to end this, and she, Elizabeth's confused. She's like, why don't you just call the police? He's like, because they wouldn't understand. And so he goes to confront him, and he's attacked by the creature and knocked into this like cavern essentially. He falls down, and then there's a wampa. It's not. That's Empire Strikes Back. I'm sorry. But he falls into this cavern, and then they have this confrontation, which is really great. We have these great, this is the first time they're actually speaking face to face since ever, because Victor pretty much abandoned him immediately. So this is them like having their first, and he's like, there's some great lines. Like I like when he says, because he said something about the soul, and he's like, do I have a soul? Was I afforded one, or is that the part that you forgot when you created me? And he wants, and he tells him that he killed his brother and how he did it, and how he crushed his neck with his hand, and all he saw was Frankenstein's face, And then he says, basically, I want you to create me a mate, another like me, because if you do that, I will leave you alone. I'll leave mankind. I'll leave everybody alone. We'll head north, and I'll just go to the furthest pole. And he says, I have so much love in me that you can't even understand. But I also have so much rage in me that you couldn't even fathom. And if I can't have one, I will indulge in the other, which is awesome. That's an awesome line.
No, the dialogue here is
Right?
is just amazing and scary at the same time.
Yeah. What do you think, Lydia?
I love it. It's like I said, I mean, just the fact that Mary Shelley was like 18 or something when she wrote this stuff, is such a mind-blowing, incredible thing. I love it. It's such a human story. Like
it is, yeah.
So
yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, he basically Frankenstein agrees. Yes, if this will keep you away from my family, and if this will keep you away from everybody else, then I will do this. This is the best way to end this. So, he shows up at the laboratory with Justine's body, and he's like, here, because he was talking to him in this dialogue before that in their confrontation. He says, what am I? And how do I know this? How do I know how to read? Because trace memories. How do I know how to play this? How do I know how to play this? I never even knew I could play this. What part of me knew how to play this, And he's like, just raw materials. That's all the body was. So when he brings him Justine, he says, no, not her, anybody but her. And he says, it's just raw material. You said so yourself. So he flat out refuses to do it. He flat out refuses it. Says, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to create a mate for you. So he grabs him by the throat and he's like, go ahead and kill me. And he says, oh, I'm not going to kill you. He's like, it'll be so much worse. If you deny me my wedding night, I will be with you on yours. And he's one that keeps his promises. Oh, the old creature. He does not renege on his promises, because sure enough, they elope. They have a shotgun wedding, and the creature kills Frankenstein's father, or scares him to death. We don't know exactly how he died, but we're to assume that the creature killed him. But kills Frankenstein's father, and then Frankenstein and Elizabeth head off. They're going to take a ferry and flee, but they have to stay in for the night. So they're guarded by an army of men. They have like a security team. That is the least effective security team of all time, by the way.
Yep.
So we get this sexy scene. We get this sexy scene of them starting to consummate their marriage. That's interrupted by flute playing. What do you guys think of that, of the way this is set up? So we get like this start of a sex scene, and it's interrupted by the sound of a flute, and he just stops, and he just knows.
It's perfect. He knows that fate has come calling.
Yeah, he knows. He knows.
He doesn't need anything else. He knows what that is.
Yeah. So I just think that's a great cue, just to have the flute playing, and that just be Victor's like, oh my God, the chickens have come home to roost, Bobby Boucher. And he freaking takes his pistols, goes out there, and they're searching for him. He's like, well, I saw him over here. And he looks up and he's like, sees that the door is open. And Elizabeth is laying in bed, and she looks up and sees him like on the netting. And he gets like face to face with her. And he's like telling her how beautiful she is. And it's just tense for a minute. And then Victor comes in, he sees him, and he punches through her chest and rips out her heart. And then says, shows Frankenstein and says he keeps his words, and then throws her body off. Her head catches on fire. Then he jumps out of a window. What do you guys think of this scene?
It's crazy. I don't even know what to say. Like, what do you say to that? It just rips her heart out of her chest. I mean, it's just wild.
Yeah, it is wild.
Yeah. So how closely did this play to the story? I've not read the book. Was this?
He kills Elizabeth on her wedding night.
Mm-hmm.
By ripping her heart out?
I don't remember if he rips her heart out.
I honestly don't remember either.
It's really a metaphor,
trying.
because what he just did to the doctor was essentially rip his heart out too. Like, these.
Yeah.
Of all the people that he's cared about, there's been his family and her, and she's been with him for his. She's kind of family, which plays into the.
Well, they do say when they're making out, he says, "Sisters no, or sibling, sister no more. Now I'm your wife," and you're like, ick.
That's what I'm saying, man. You missed that small piece at the beginning, and you're like, oh, what's going on? But he figuratively and literally rips both their hearts out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love it. I think it's like just so cool, because it's like visceral. When he throws her and her head catches on fire, you're like, like, oh my God. Which, of course, they had to do because they needed her to be fucked up for what happens next. So he rides back to the hall through a terrible thunderstorm, and he's going to resurrect her. He's going to bring her back. And Henry's there trying to stop him, and he won't have any of it. And we get these gorgeous shots of him running up the stairs, her with her red cloak on, against this white background. It just looks awesome. And he does it. He cuts off her head and puts it onto Justine's body. Sews her head back on. And then resurrects her. And guys, what do you think of this when she comes back and she's all fucked?
It's awesome.
It's disturbing, really.
Yeah,
It is.
she looks. Yeah, she
Go ahead,
definitely
Leia.
looks messed up.
It's like emotionally devastating too, because she's trying to, she doesn't know what the hell's going on, and he's over
Yeah.
here dancing with her, and she's just kind of, because
She's kind
he's
of
fucking
reborn.
yeah, he's lost the fucking plot. He's mad by this point. He's mad, and of course the creature shows up in an awesome shot. He's just boom there, and they're both like, "Oh my fucking god!" And she goes up to him like she's kind of drawn to him, and she doesn't know why. And he's like, "She's with me." He's like, "No, she said my name." She
Say
finally
my
says
name.
Victor, because she's starting to kind of remember stuff, and she calls his name, and then she realizes that she feels it, and she realizes that she is also, undead basically, and she does not want that life. So she goes over and she smashes a lantern over her and engulfs her with flames. And we get this absolutely amazing fire stunt, guys.
Yes,
It's
the best.
wildly good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's insane.
I mean,
It is
they
pretty
just
crazy.
literally caught a person on fire and had them run down a hall that was also igniting on fire. So, and we just get, that's action, run down this hall. It's glorious.
Like she was igniting it like,
yeah, as she's running. Yeah.
you know
Such a
how
cool
hot
idea.
that would be.
Yeah. Such a cool idea because it's a great way to burn down the manor, right?
Yeah,
There is only one small detail they kind of missed in this, and so when she jumps off the balcony and lands on the floor, there's like a residue from where they probably have tried that one other time. It looked like,
Oh,
but it's one of the minor things. But anyway, this scene is amazing. It's so good.
yeah, everything about it. And
that's
the
funny. I
emotional,
didn't even notice that.
Beautiful.
yeah, the emotional underlying of this is awesome too. Like, you have the conflict within her, and then you have Victor losing the plot and being completely mad and just trying to, like he was in the beginning when he lost his mom, trying to pull it back. And then you have the creature who is seeking his revenge, and his revenge is satisfied at this point. But he also lost what he thought was going to be his companion, so he's alone too. So we flash forward back to where we started, and Frankenstein succumbs to the elements and dies on the couch after telling him his story and what this creature was. And he still doesn't believe it at this point. The captain doesn't. He's like, he's talking about phantoms, and his crew's wanting to mutiny because he's pushing them to go forward without care of their lives. And they hear something in the room. They go back in, and the creature's sitting on the couch crying, weeping. And of course the captain knows who this is because he just heard this story. And he asks him why he weeps, and he says because he was his father. It was the only family he ever had. It's all he had, and now it's gone. Which is devastating, really. And so the captain, they create a funeral pyre for him. And the men are like untrustworthy of the creature, and that one of the guys are like saying, he's like, he has a right to bear witness. Because he has empathy for the monster because he heard Victor's story. And he's like, I kind of think you're the bad guy in this. So he has empathy for him. And then before he can catch him on fire, this iceberg breaks away. And they all start pulling back to the ship. And the creature falls in as Victor's floating away in a piece of ice. And the captain tries to save him. And he says, no, I've had enough of mankind. And he keeps the torch up and swims over to the funeral pyre and lights them both on fire, and he gets engulfed in flames while holding Victor. What do you guys think of this? And then the captain also says, "Let's go home," because he realized, I don't want to end up like this fucking guy. This is a cautionary tale, and I don't want to end up that way. What do you guys think of this ending?
I love it. I think it's perfect.
I agree.
Like, because a moment ago, the captain is like, north. We're still going north. Yeah. And he sees that, and he's like, I am mad, and I don't want to be like that. So the decision making is awesome.
Yeah. And what do you think of the creature's ending?
It's so sad.
It is. It's
like, I'm done with humans. And I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, I think we all feel that way sometimes. What do you think of this ending, Derek?
I mean, it's kind of the only way that it could end. Because, you know, at this point, the creature's entire purpose was to torment his father for the wrongs that he had brought upon him, you know, his entire life. And it's poetic that they both died at the same, well, not at the same time, but like he went out with his father, holding him in his arms. It's just sad. It's crazy.
Yeah, I like it too. I love it. I think it's the perfect ending for this movie. It's Shakespearean to a degree. I mean, it's, you know, this great tragedy. The creature, the great tragedy is that the person he wanted revenge from the most, the person he hated the most, is also the person he loved the most, because it's his only family. It's his only real family, because he was created by this person who wanted nothing to do with him. And the sad part is, if Victor would have taken the responsibility at the beginning, that things might have turned out completely different. The creature could have learned, you know, the creature could have adapted, probably. Because society makes the creature what he is.
Yeah, he would have been a wealthy doctor. I mean, he could have sheltered Victor for a long time. You know what I mean? Like that skirting responsibility. And it happened really quickly. Like immediately after it had happened, he was like, "What did I do?"
But it's perfect.
Like, I watch a lot of like ghost hunting shows, and anytime anybody like actually thinks they see a ghost, they like run the other way. Like, why am I here? What did I do?
This was a mistake.
Why did I? Yeah, why did I want to do this?
These ghost hunting shows are wild. We'll have to do an episode where we just make fun of those, because there's something else.
I'm sure we can find a movie.
Especially Zach Baggins just fucking yelling at things. Listen here, Ghost
Cup! You can't do that.
Fight me! Fight me, bro! No, he's the worst. And that is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Guys, what are your thoughts? Who wants to go first?
Derek does.
Derek, what are your thoughts?
Sure, I'll go first. You know, you can take a lot from this movie. Like, it is a great metaphor for so many things in life. Not only being a good movie, but, you know, the mistakes you make and needing to own up to those. And if you let it, it's a movie that really makes you think beyond the scope of just being a horror movie. So I think it's really well done. I think the actors did a great job. I think the script was pretty awesome. There's very few things that I would really tweak in this movie, and I don't know how it did at the box office, but I thought it was a really great movie.
It did. It made $112 million off of $45 million, so pretty good.
Okay, so it made 3 times its money.
Yeah.
It was in the positive.
What are you gonna rate?
So and my rating? Man,
we're just staring at him.
It's so hard sometimes to rate these movies.
I know this one is super hard for me to rate too.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I thought the everybody did just such a great job, and I feel like it's a very solid movie. Yep, let's stick with it. 8.5.
What do you think, Lydia?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think I'm right around there too. I really did like it a lot. And for some reason, I'm like comparing it to the book and Dracula. You know, Bram Stoker's Dracula
Yeah.
movie. So I'm like, where does it fall in this like weird category in my mind? I can't even. But it was really good. It was entertaining. It was, yeah, there was a lot of things that were good about it, and not very many things that were bad about it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm about there. I'm around an 8. I don't think it's quite as good as Dracula. I think Dracula's just the best of these kind of movies, but I think this is up there. I really, really like this movie. I've always had a soft spot for it. I've always thought some people didn't like the direction because it's kind of the cut, the editing, because it's kind of fast paced and it has a bunch of twirling cameras. I fucking loved it. I was like, it's supposed to be a big operatic, movie, and that's what it is. I think the performances are great all around. I mean, Robert De Niro as the creature is just, yeah, sign me up for that shit all day.
Yeah, they all did great too.
Yeah. Oh, Kenneth Branagh is awesome as Victor Frankenstein. Helena Bonham Carter's great. John Cleese is great. The actor that plays the father's great.
Bilbo.
Yep. Bilbo Baggins himself. Yeah, it's just all around really solid to great movie, I think, and it's one that I am going to put more into my regular rotation around Halloween time, I think, because I think it's really good. I think it does the source material justice. And not only does it do the source material justice, but I think that it did justice to those pageantry studio horror movies of that era. I would have loved to have seen more. I think it did great. So yeah, I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to give it an 8.5 too, Derek. I'm with you, 8.5.
I think it would have been like up maybe a notch if the romance would have been a little bit more like not with his sister.
You said 8.5, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of that is the only like strange element, but you have to keep in mind that's not actually the way that it is.
Yeah, right. They're not.
It would be like going to school with the same girl for all those years and like marrying your childhood sweetheart.
Yeah.
I guess, but
it is
definitely a strange aspect.
There's a bit where she's reading the letters to everybody, and he talks about how he falls in love, and it's like, she's the best sheepdog. Oh, she's like, oh, you get like the relief on her. Oh, dear Elizabeth, I love your breast. Oh my God. I'll read this one to myself.
Don't read that out loud. Yeah. And they're like, what else does it say? She's like, nothing.
Nothing. It says nothing, young child. Beat it, pal. How's that? No, this is a really good one. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, who would Tom Atkins play in this movie?
Thrill me.
I'm really torn. I was thinking about this.
I'm gonna say his dad.
Dad? I think like Frankenstein.
Ooh.
Or the monster even. I think he would do great in either of those roles.
He would do great in either of them, but I wouldn't replace
Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I wouldn't replace Robert De Niro, and I wouldn't replace
you do whatever you
Kenneth Branagh either. I think he's really good in it. I think he's.
I don't know.
He
Guys,
cannot be his. He
Picture
can't
it.
be the other sidekick doctor because Tom
that guy's
Atkins
a shit
is
kicker.
above that. Yeah, not a shit kicker, but like Tom Atkins he's above it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Other than that, there aren't a lot of male outside of like those 4.
I'd say the dad. Yeah, I would have to go with Derek and say Bear and
Or the blind
Frankenstein.
man.
Or Dr. Waldman.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But John Cleese is really good in this too. I don't know if I really want to lose him either.
I can't believe how good he is. I didn't
Yeah.
even freaking recognize him.
Bilbo, sorry to say you're gone. You've been agonized. So the Halloween season is over after this Halloween, and so we're going to start getting into the fall. And when we think about fall, we think about carving turkeys, right? For Thanksgiving. But
Mhm.
you know what instrument is used to carve anything? It is a chainsaw.
Mm.
So we're going to head back to Texas. And we're going to do Tobe Hooper's 1986 sequel, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh, shit.
Man, you just
And
went
you
and
can
light up
find-
my world.
You can find Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 streaming on Max, Hulu. It is also available to rent on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and all of those sort of things. So next week we are going to do Tobe Hooper's 1986 Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with Stretch. All right, guys. Derek, do you have a story for us?
I was thinking it had to be Halloween based,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think I've already shared the shoe goo.
Yes, you did
Story,
share the
right?
shoe goo, which was special.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna give you one that was pretty harmless. Okay, so we lived in Kentucky at the time, and I don't know why, but we really weren't doing anything for Halloween, and I was like, man, I really want some free candy. So what I did was I put on a mask and put on some beat up clothes, and I went around the block that we lived on, and I collected candy from all the houses. And I went back, and then I changed into a different costume. Maybe I think it was a Jason mask or something like that. And I went around and I collected all the candy from the same houses. Then I went back a third time and I did something different. So I cheated a little bit and I just went to the same 5 houses 3 times to collect the candy.
Were they good?
That's awesome.
Was it good candy?
I mean, it was regular candy.
Was
Well,
it
I mean,
chocolate
sometimes-
or was it hard candy? Or
Yeah.
jelly candy?
I don't recall the specifics of the candy type I got.
I
but,
always remember
you know.
the candy specifics. Do you guys,
Oh, yeah.
when you know the houses. Remember when you were a kid, you would know the houses. Like, you'd know the houses that you're like, those guys give away apples. Let's not go to that fucking guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the apple
Yeah.
guy.
Let's skip
And you're like,
that.
this person gives out full size candy bars. Let's hit up the fucking Robinsons with their full size candy bars.
I don't
that's what was
remember a full-size candy bar house in the neighborhood that I was trick-or-treating at.
Oh man, yeah. I remember we'd have to get in the car because around our house there wasn't a lot of people. A lot of people didn't hand out candy, so we'd have to get in the car and drive down to this neighborhood where they had in Parkview is where we would go because they had all the lights on always and they all had candy. So that's what we do. We'd drive there and then walk the neighborhood, and then we would drive to another place. Guys, you know what candy I really like? And it always makes me think of Halloween, and people think it's crazy, but it's the fruit Tootsie Rolls.
Oh, yes.
I love the fruit Tootsie Rolls.
Those are delicious.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Halloween candy, Derek?
Oh man, I love Twix. I love what is it? The Kit Kat bars.
Mhm.
And for the first time I've discovered that they did Kit Kat bars with Reese's cups.
Ooh.
Oh,
And
dude,
it's like, oh,
the
I'm
best.
gonna eat them all.
The best is the Reese's pumpkins.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because
definitely.
they're just
Last year, I discovered that the peanut butter Snickers is definitely my favorite by far.
that is really
of
good too.
All of them.
Yeah, it's peanut butter Snickers is really good. What do you guys feel about Butterfingers? I like Butterfinger.
I like them.
Yeah.
They kind of
Yeah,
get in my teeth a little
Butterfinger?
bit.
Yeah,
They
that's
do.
the only
Bugs me.
gripe I have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they taste
Is,
delicious.
Well,
is that.
dude, Rolos are good, but speaking about getting your teeth, fucking Milk Duds,
Oh man, Milk Duds are tough.
they are tough.
They're tough. They're good. They're worth it sometimes. Not too often.
Yeah.
But
My
like one little pack, and there's like so many in like a little tiny box,
little tiny
and they
box.
take so long to eat. You're like,
I guess I feel satisfied. I had to work for
worth
that.
their weight. Yeah.
My dad loves Whoppers. Those are his favorite. That's such a fucking old man thing to love.
Yeah. My dad loves Whoppers too. Yep. Malted milk balls.
Yeah, dad always goes to when he goes for ice cream too. He's like, I want to get a chocolate malt. I'm like, Dad, you weren't even alive in the 50s.
Nostalgic.
I just love the chocolate
My
malt.
dad is a Snickers, M&M, and Whopper guy. for
Yeah,
sure.
Dad likes Whopper and Reese's and Kit Kats, and I like all those too. I'm not huge on Whoppers. That's not
Oh,
for
yeah.
me. They're okay, but I'm like, eh. Do you like
I like a
Whoppers?
Whopper.
Whopper's okay.
Derek?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
they're all right.
I like.
All right.
Dude, I love chocolate malts, which are kind of like, I guess, taste like Whoppers in my opinion. But
Yeah, they do. That's why Dad gets them. It's liquid Whopper. And that wraps up this Halloween hangover edition of our show, Screen Bloody Movies. Be sure to comment down below on your favorite Halloween candies. Do you guys also have the Halloween hangover where you just don't want it to end, so you make it last one more week? Be sure to comment down below also your thoughts on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Do you agree with our assessment that it rules, or are you wrong? That's what I want to know. You can follow us online at HiLaProductions.com. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can follow us on Instagram at Screen Bloody Movies. And you can follow us each on Twitter at DDoglyMaster, Lydia Spooky, and I'm at Racket. So next week, Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And we also are in the middle of casting the opening scene for the movie. So it is moving forward. We're making some strides. You'll have some big news coming up soon. Isn't that right, Derek?
yeah, you will.
So, guys, if there's nothing else, we'll bid you adieu. So for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.